Hey guys, how's it going? Hope you're doing well. My name is Crown, and today I'm going to read you some very interesting stories that I hope that you're gonna love. And now, without further ado, let's go!
I'm a patient person. With 4 siblings, I learned to wait my turn and that good things are worth waiting for. My partner would agree. We've been together for 5 years, and I spent 2 years saving for an engagement ring. My patience was tested last weekend when we went to see the new mystery thriller everyone talked about, the one with the mind-blowing twist ending. We'd looked forward to it for weeks, avoiding spoilers and turning down invitations from friends who wanted to discuss it. We got to the theater 45 minutes early for good seats. The line was long, but we didn't mind. We enjoyed being together, talking about vacation plans and watching people. My partner asked if I thought the twist was as good as everyone said, while squeezing my hand. I said I hoped so, adding that nothing had topped The Village for me. My partner disagreed, saying that one was predictable and they figured it out in 20 minutes. We were debating our favorite movie twists when someone pushed against my back. At first I thought the line was shifting, but then it happened again. Harder. I turned to see a man in his 30s, wearing an expensive jacket and sunglasses inside the dark lobby. He was pushing through the line, shoving people. I told him there was a line. The man looked at me like I spoke an alien language. He told me the 7 o'clock showing of Final Deception started in 10 minutes, and if we were seeing something else, we could wait. Before I could answer, he pushed forward again with enough force that my partner fell against the garbage can, their phone hitting the ground. People around us gasped. An older woman helped my partner up while I picked up the phone, glad it wasn't broken. I asked my partner if they were okay. They said they were fine, just surprised while brushing off their clothes. I saw the rude man at the front of the line buying his ticket. My blood was boiling, but I'm not confrontational. I've never been in a fight and I wasn't starting now, but I had something better in mind. I told my partner I'd be right back. They gave me a concerned look and told me not to do anything stupid. I said I wouldn't. My best friend is a film critic who saw an early screening of Final Deception 2 weeks ago. He accidentally told me the major twist while we had drinks. I was annoyed then, but now I was grateful. I caught the man as he handed his ticket to the usher. I called out to him. He turned with an irritated expression and asked what I wanted. I stepped closer, lowered my voice, and smiled. Then I told him Detective Morrison had been dead since the opening scene, and the partner investigating with him was just his imagination, representing his guilt for the crime he committed. That's why no one in the movie directly addressed his partner. His face changed from confusion to rage. He said I was making it up. I wished him an enjoyable movie and walked back to my partner. When I returned, my partner asked what I had done. I said I just shared some movie trivia. During our own movie, a comedy that wasn't great but did the job, my partner kept leaning over and repeating the spoiler about Detective Morrison being dead, making us both laugh quietly. When we left the theater, that same man was in the lobby looking furious while talking to his friend. I heard him say it was the worst movie experience ever because someone spoiled the entire thing before it started. My partner and I smiled at each other as we walked past. I've been running my family farm for about 15 years. After my grandfather died, he left me the 50-acre property that had been in our family for generations. I was working a corporate job in the city at the time, so the inheritance came as a blessing. I quit my job, moved to the countryside, and started rebuilding the farm that had fallen into disrepair. My specialty became breeding and training unique horse breeds. I focused on rare colorations and temperaments that made my horses sought after by serious equestrians and collectors. It wasn't easy. I spent years learning about genetics, training techniques, and veterinary care. I built relationships with other breeders and slowly developed a reputation for having some of the most beautiful and well-trained horses in the state. My wife supported me through it all. She'd been in the military for 10 years, serving as a sniper in 2 deployments before retiring and settling down with me on the farm. She handled the business side while I worked with the animals. We made a good team. That Sunday started like any other. I was in the stables grooming Midnight, my prized black Frisian, with the rare silver gene that gave him a metallic sheen to his coat. He was worth well over $50,000, but to me, he was priceless. I'd raised him from a foal, and we had a special bond. I heard the crunch of tires on our gravel driveway. We weren't expecting visitors, and we had clear no trespassing and private property signs posted at the entrance. My wife was up at the house probably doing the books, so I decided to check who had come onto our property. When I walked out of the stable, I saw a shiny SUV parked in front of our barn. A woman was walking around looking into paddocks with a child of about 8 trailing behind her. I called out to the woman, explaining that she was on private property and asking if I could help her. She turned to me with a look I've only seen in people who are used to getting their way. She said she'd been looking all over for someone and heard about my special horses and wanted to see them. I told her that we didn't offer tours, explaining that we were a private breeding operation. I suggested she could make an appointment through our website if she was interested in our horses. The woman dismissed my suggestion about appointments, saying her son's birthday was next week and she had promised him a special horse. She then told me to show her what horses I had available. I noticed her son looking uncomfortable, kicking at the dirt with his expensive sneakers. I tried to explain that these weren't beginner horses, adding that they weren't simply birthday presents but needed experienced handlers and specific care. Just then, Midnight trotted into view in his paddock. His coat caught the sunlight, almost seeming to glow. The woman's eyes widened. She pointed at Midnight, saying she wanted that black horse and asking for the price. I told her that Midnight wasn't for sale, explaining he was one of our breeding stallions. She said that everything was for sale at the right price. She offered $5,000. I almost laughed at how low her offer was. I repeated that he wasn't for sale at any price and asked her to leave. She said she was raising her offer to $10,000, stating it was her final offer. I tried to make her understand that even if Midnight were for sale, his value would be many times her offer. I again asked her to leave my property. Her face turned red. She said she didn't take no for an answer and increased her offer to $15,000, adding that I should throw in all the equipment. I told her the conversation was over, reminding her she was trespassing and asking her to leave. That's when things went sideways. She reached into her purse and pulled out a small handgun. My blood ran cold when she pointed it at Midnight. She started ranting about how country people think they're special with their fancy animals. She said either I sell her the horse right now for $15,000 or she would shoot it, saying that if she couldn't have it, no one could. Her son's eyes went wide with horror. He asked his mother what she was doing. She told him to be quiet, telling him this was how you get what you want in life. I tried to stay calm. I told her to put the gun away before someone got hurt, saying I didn't think she would actually shoot my horse. She asked if I thought she was bluffing. She fired a shot into the ground near Midnight's hooves. The noise sent all the animals into a panic. Horses were running in their paddocks, the chickens scattered, and even our cattle in the distant field started moving. Midnight reared up in fear and I was scared he might hurt himself. The woman kept the gun on him, her hand steady. She asked if I was going to take her money or if this beautiful animal was going to die today. I was starting to believe she really would shoot Midnight. I was about to agree to her demands just to protect my horse when I heard a sharp crack echo across the farm. The woman screamed and collapsed, clutching her leg. Blood seeped through her jeans where a bullet had grazed her thigh. Her son started screaming and crying, rushing to his mother's side. I looked up at our farmhouse and saw my wife in the window, rifle in hand. She had seen what was happening and taken action. She may have been retired for years, but her skills hadn't faded. I ran to the woman to check the wound while calling 911. It wasn't life-threatening. My wife had only meant to disarm her, not cause serious harm. I applied pressure to slow the bleeding while we waited for the police and ambulance. The woman shouted angrily, saying I had shot her and threatening to sue us for everything we had. My wife walked down from the house, rifle safely put away, and knelt beside us to help with first aid. She told the woman that she had pulled a gun on her husband and their animals on their private property. She mentioned that There were security cameras all over the farm that had recorded everything and invited her to try to sue us. The police and ambulance arrived within minutes. The officers took statements and collected the woman's gun as evidence. They told us that she would be facing charges for trespassing, brandishing a weapon, and making threats. As they loaded her into the ambulance, her son looked back at me with tears in his eyes. He said sorry, telling me he never actually wanted a horse but had just wanted to go to summer camp with his friends. I felt sorry for the kid. He was caught in the middle of his mother's entitlement and poor decisions. The aftermath was messy. There were statements to give and legal proceedings to attend. But in the end, she faced charges for her actions, and midnight was safe. That's all that really mattered to me. I worked in the service industry most of my adult life. After my husband and I got married, we wanted to save for a house, so I took a second job as a cocktail waitress at a hotel bar downtown. The pay wasn't great, but tips could be decent during conventions. The hotel hosted many business events with lots of out-of-town guests. Some would get lonely and try their luck with the wait staff. Usually mentioning my husband stopped their advances, except once. It was Thursday night and I had a section with mostly 4 top tables. 2 guys in suits sat in my area. They looked like typical convention attendees, name badges around their necks, tired from seminars, ready to unwind. I greeted them and asked what they wanted. The first guy ordered bourbon neat while his friend ordered beer. I told them their drinks would come right up. When I returned with drinks, the second guy asked what I was doing after work and suggested a late dinner. I told him I'd be going home to my husband. His face changed. He said I was lying, and that's just what I tell guys I don't like. I asked what he meant. He pointed at my wedding band and said it was just a decoy to stop guys from hitting on me. I told him it wasn't a decoy, and I was actually married. He didn't believe me and said he was only in town for 2 nights. I explained that even if I wasn't married, company policy didn't allow dating customers. That made him angry. He accused me of thinking he wasn't good enough. 2 more men joined their table, which made things worse. One newcomer looked at me and said he heard I thought I was too good for his friend. I explained I wasn't too good for anyone, just married to someone else. He rolled his eyes and ordered beers and potato skins. The next 90 minutes were awful. They complained about everything. The beers were too warm, the food was too cold, the service was too slow. When I brought nachos, the first guy claimed it wasn't what he ordered. I reminded him he asked for nachos with extra cheese. He said he wanted no cheese and asked if I was deaf. His friends laughed. One knocked over his drink, spilling ice on the floor. He pretended to be sorry about being clumsy. When I brought potato skins, they complained again. One said they were disgusting and flipped the plate, dropping food on the floor. This continued until they left. Their bill was $120 for food and alcohol. They paid exactly $120. No tip. One thanked me sarcastically as they left. My manager closed my section early so I could clean up. While scrubbing potato skins off the carpet, I found a small black film canister under the table. I shook it. No film inside. I opened it and smelled strong marijuana packed tightly in the container. I quickly closed it and put it in my apron pocket, then finished cleaning. 20 minutes later, while counting my register, the first guy returned looking worried. He told the hostess he dropped something, and she let him check the table. I kept counting receipts while he moved chairs and looked under the table. He asked if I found anything. I said there was just a mess. After searching more, he left looking upset. At home, I gave the canister to my husband. I told him to look at my tip. My husband opened it and looked surprised. He weighed the marijuana on our kitchen scale. 7 grams of premium weed from someone who treated me terribly. I told my husband how these guys were jerks who ran me around, made a mess, and didn't tip. My husband smiled and pointed out they did leave something. We spent the weekend getting high and laughing. The weed lasted almost a month. I never saw those guys again, but I wonder if the ringleader ever realized where he lost his stash. That night showed me how karma works in strange ways. So at 22, after working construction to save up, I applied to the fire academy in a city in the southeastern United States. The training was brutal, but I passed and got hired as a rookie firefighter. Most people don't realize that being a new firefighter, or a probie as they call it, is like being a freshman again. You get teased, do grunt work, and earn your place. I was okay with that. What I didn't expect was Lieutenant Hard A. Every firehouse has that officer nobody can stand, and Lieutenant Hard A was ours. The veteran firefighters warned me about him. They told me to watch out for him because he had it out for rookies. 3 months into my probie year, I got assigned to his engine company for a rotation. On my first day, Lieutenant Hard A called me into his office. He told me that in his company, probies do all the station chores. He listed everything I would be responsible for: cleaning toilets, mopping floors, washing the engine, and keeping the coffee pot full at all times. I replied that I understood about the chores, noting that it was standard for probies. The lieutenant cut me off, asking if he had stuttered. He repeated his demand about the coffee being available at all times. Then he threatened that if any senior firefighter wanted coffee and the pot was empty, I'd get a poor evaluation. He warned that poor evaluations meant not making it past my probie year. I told him it was clear. I walked out of his office feeling my stomach sink. The other firefighters gave me sympathetic looks. One of them pulled me aside later that day. This senior firefighter told me not to worry too much about what the lieutenant had said. He explained that while the chores were normal, the coffee ultimatum was nonsense, just the lieutenant power tripping. I thanked him but said I couldn't risk a bad evaluation because I'd worked too hard to get here. The senior firefighter said it was my call but added that nobody would blame me if I found a way around it. That night, while cleaning up after dinner, I thought about my situation. The lieutenant was being unreasonable, but I needed this job. I had student loans from the fire academy to pay off. I couldn't afford to get fired. Then it hit me. The lieutenant wanted coffee? Fine. He'd get coffee. There was just one problem. I'd never been a coffee drinker. I never liked the taste, never learned how to make it. But how hard could it be? The next morning I got up early and headed to the kitchen. I found the coffee maker and filters and the big can of grounds. I remembered seeing my mom make coffee as a kid, so I had a vague idea of the process. I took a filter and started scooping grounds into it. 1 scoop, 2 scoops. I kept going until the filter was completely full. Then I scraped it level with my finger. Next came the water, but I wasn't sure how much to use. Thinking that strong coffee was probably what these tough firefighters wanted, I only filled the reservoir about halfway. When Lieutenant Hard A arrived, I had a fresh pot waiting. He said it was about time I learned my place. He poured himself a cup and took a big swig without looking. His face turned into an expression of disgust. He spat the coffee back into the mug and asked what this was, saying I was trying to poison him. The commotion brought other firefighters into the kitchen. One of them poured himself a small cup and tried to take a sip. He said this wasn't coffee but more like motor oil, adding that you could probably stand a spoon up in it. Another firefighter tried to pour some into his cup, but it came out in thick globs like molasses. He asked if I had used the entire can of coffee for one pot. I explained that I had filled the filter to the top, then asked if that wasn't right. The lieutenant asked if I'd never made coffee before. I said no, I don't drink coffee and never have. I was just trying to follow his orders. Lieutenant Harday walked off. The other firefighters were trying not to laugh. The next day, I repeated my performance. This time, I made the coffee even stronger, using less water. The result was a substance so thick you could cut it with a knife. When Lieutenant Harday came in and saw me preparing to pour him a cup, he ran across the kitchen to stop me. He told me to stop and not touch the coffee maker again, saying I was banned from making coffee forever. I asked about my evaluation, reminding him of what he had said previously. The lieutenant told me to forget what he said and just do my other chores, telling me to stay away from the coffee. For the rest of my rotation with Lieutenant Hard A, he never mentioned coffee duty again. When my evaluation came around, I was surprised to see excellent marks across the board. Later, one of the senior firefighters pulled me aside with a smile. He said I had pulled quite a stunt with the coffee, saying the lieutenant actually thought I was just that clueless about brewing. I replied that I had no idea what he was talking about, I was just following orders. The senior firefighter said sure I was. I finished my probie year without any more issues from Lieutenant Hard A. When he saw me near the kitchen, he would change direction. And now we have reached the end of today's stories. Thank you for watching, and see you next time.